Hi guys, Brain here, and welcome to another commentary video. Today I wanted to talk about a very interesting topic, which is why DBD used to be fun. And that's something that's very much repeated around the Dead by Daylight community all over the place, whether you have 500 hours or 1,000 hours or you have like 8K hours. There's something of a common sentiment among people, content creators and not, saying that DBD used to be fun. This game used to be really fun until X happened, until 2023 happened and all these perks and killers got released, until all these maps got changed. There's always something. But something that's pretty consistent about DBD players all across the community is they always say DBD used to be fun at some point. It's actually extremely rare to find somebody who still enjoys the game. Most of the time they say DBD used to be more fun and then it got less fun. So what is the answer for that? Because I feel like I have an unorthodox answer to that question that you probably don't see coming. So let me go ahead and get started. So why is it that DBD used to be fun? And this is a sentiment that we can find across most players in Dead by Daylight, that even if you still find the game fun, a lot of people argue that the game was more fun at one point or another. The reason this is because Dead by Daylight is a game that progressively gets more samey the more you raise an MMR and the more hours you have. There's a lot of things about Dead by Daylight that doesn't really show itself until you get higher hours or into the higher MMR. In the lower hours of Dead by Daylight, whether that be through straight your MMR or your straight hours, there's a lot of things you can do and get away with that are not really possible even at the moderate level of Dead by Daylight. You can run stuff like lightweight self-care on Survivor. You can run stuff like Spies in the Shadows Bloodhound on Killer, and you will still be able to 4K in a lot of your matches. There are a lot of people in the lower level of Dead by Daylight that can run somebody simple like Myers with no tombstone, by the way. Run somebody with simple like Myers and 4K consistently on Garner Joy, which is the most survivor-sided map in the game. Why? Because the survivors are just not at a point yet where they know what builds to run, and even if they are running the right perks, they really don't know how to utilize them. This is something that I have heard a lot in general with Dead by Daylight in its history, is that one of the worst things that happened in Dead by Daylight is that the game became solved, which if you don't know that terminology, the game being solved means that people generally know what the meta is. Even if they're a casual player, they kind of get what they should and should not run. A game has been solved. It's not like, is Pain Res good? Is Pop Goes Louise good? Yeah, of course we know those are like the best slowdown. We know. It's not a question. It's not like somebody has to test this and think tank it. Like even the casual player knows that Pain Res and Pop are good perks. And a lot of the things that older players, veteran players seem to cite is that DBD got progressively more unfun after 2017 and 2018 when the game had actually been out for quite some time, and kind of herald 2017-18 is kind of like the golden years of Dead by Daylight before, you know, the game was solved and even the casual player could know it was good or not. But what that really translates to, what that actually means, is that the fun you were having was at the expense of other people because they didn't know better. It was actually because of ignorance that you were doing well, and not actually because you were running the right perks or you had the right strategies. But what happens now that the game is in its 8th year, is most people have a general idea of what to run and what's good. So people end up in these situations where they want to go into games running self-care, running lightweight, learning perks like that, and then they get like squashed. And they get all surprised Pikachu face about it and freak out about it, but the game has been solved. Most people generally know what's good and what's bad in the game. So it's not like early Dead by Daylight in the first year or two where people didn't know what was going on, and you could get away with running really, really bad perks on a really, really bad map and still be able to pull off a victory because people just didn't know any better. And my point being that in a microcosmic way, this is happening all the time for individuals. Because in your first like 0 to 300 hours, it kind of doesn't matter too much what perks you run. Like I said, you could run stuff like Spies in the Shadows. You can run stuff like Beast of Prey, and as long as you play okay, the survivors are probably bad enough that you're going to get away with it and win a lot of your matches. You can run Clown and go to Ormond and win almost every single game because, well, the survivors probably don't know how to utilize that main building or utilize the loops or the layout of the map to their benefit, despite the fact that Ormond is a very, very strong survivor map. And this is often the environment in which DBD players say that they were having fun. And this was why DBD used to be fun, because they used to be able to run bad perks, go to bad maps, play bad characters, and still have the same level of success as somebody who would be super skilled in the game, knew what perks to run, and didn't have bad RNG against them. They essentially got to, despite not having earned it, kind of like roleplay a little bit as an experienced and good player in the game, because at that level in your first 100 hours or so, most people people don't know what's going on, so you can kind of cosplay as a good player despite not learning good strategies, despite not knowing what perks to run, and despite not knowing what maps are good or bad or how to utilize them. People are often confusing their performance in their early hours of DBD with success when it's actually ignorance. You're not actually winning because you're good. You were winning because the other people you were facing were just as confused as you were, and you were slightly less confused. You may have had good moonwalks. You may have had a slightly better perk choice because you watched a streamer or YouTuber video before you actually hopped into your matches, so you actually had a fairly good build, whereas the survivors did not do that and were running bad builds pretty consistently. You weren't winning because you were good. You were winning because you were slightly less ignorant than a group of people who were all ignorant. But where people start to notate that the game becomes less and less fun is when people start to know better, when they start to actually have a little bit of experience and go, maybe I shouldn't run Bond, Leader, and Pharmacy Vigil, and that's not going to win me most of my games. Maybe I should run stuff like Dead Hard or like Windows of Opportunity that'll actually help me loop a bit better. Maybe as killer, I shouldn't be running a Predator. People don't even remember that perk even exists. It's a Wraith teachable, by the way. Scratch marks closer. Running Predator, unnerving presence, and winning most of my matches. Like, I'm gonna run Pain Raz Pop and actually start slowing down these generators that people seem to be doing kind of fast. And there's like a really big plateau of frustration that happens there, and it continues to happen your entire way up into like higher MMR, which is realizing that, okay, at this bracket, I really can't just run 0 slowdown and consistently win. Okay, well, this bracket, it seems like I can't consistently just run 1 slowdown and consistently win. And at this bracket, it seems like I need to run at least 2. But a lot of people will not make that adjustment. A lot of people will not realize that, like, hey, at this bracket, I have enough hours and I am at a certain MMR where the survivors seem to know more of what they're doing, or the killers seem to know more of what they're doing. And then you're faced with a choice at that moment. Either I decide myself I should also start running better perks or start having better strategies and actually learning how to maximize the certain character I'm playing or abandon bad habits. A lot of people just choose to say that the game became unfun. A lot of people choose to say, well, this game's sweaty now. This game used to be entertaining, it used to be chill. And what you really mean by entertaining and chill is that people were just, not on purpose, but people were just stupid. People thought that they could get away with running bad perks, and that's because when, you know, you're fairly new, everybody's new, so nobody knows what's going on. And that's what a lot of people consider to be fun, is like when they could run variety perks, when they could push over an entire group of survivors without having the specific map to benefit them. Like, that is what they cite as, like, that was the fun time of Dead by Daylight, but that was at the expense of ignorance and stupidity, and not actually because you were doing well. So now DBD seems like a big sweatland because essentially you're meeting your maker. No pun intended with the other behavior game that failed horribly. Like, you're meeting your maker. You're meeting somebody who actually has good habits like you do, actually wants to run good perks like you do, and you have 2 choices there. This branches into 2 areas. You say, okay, I'm cool with being at this bracket, which means I'm going to have to lose a bit, but I'm cool with being at this non-sweaty area, and I'm cool with losing a bit, but still running the perks that I find fun. Or you can step it up. You can say, okay, all right, I'm going to up the ante. You think you're better than me because you guys are running like Prove Thyself and brand new parts? Well, I'm going to start bringing Deadlock Grim Embrace so we can slow down the game a little bit. Or Dead Man's Grim Embrace. That's the more popular combo. And then you can suddenly see you start winning more of your matches, and you may start to have more fun. But eventually you're going to hit another bracket where, like, okay, well, like, this isn't working, and you have a choice. And it just keeps going up and up. But a lot of people keep hitting these little plateaus and going, well, now the game is not fun because I can't just run stupid perk that nobody uses and win most of my games. And you just have to have realistic expectations about the fact that if you are improving in the game, you're going to be winning more often, which, even when the MMR is not working the best, is going to start putting you against people that are more difficult. And that's just an expectation you have to have. That's not just a DBD thing, that's a video games thing with any sort of online versus game. The better you get, the more often you're going to face better players. And how you handle that is up to you, and it's not always on the game. Yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the reason that people used to think Dead by Daylight was fun? Do you agree with me, or do you think it's a little bit more on the usually reported reasons that people give? Let me know down in the comments below, but that should be it for today's video. On that, I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye.